As they entered the forest, the air grew cold and they began to hear whispers. The voices of spirits echoed around them.
Why do you disturb our peace? Why do you disturb our peace?
Shadows moved in the trees and the warriors felt fear gripping their hearts. But they pressed on, determined to find Ihefu. After days of wandering through the dense forest, they finally saw her.
You are watching Folktale by Jay. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel. Turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our videos when we drop a new release. Thank you.
In the heart of the eastern lands, two villages, Okpanzi and Umundim. These villages had lived in peace for years, but the dispute over a fertile piece of land between them, known as Injinjimboda, sparked a terrible conflict. Both villages claimed the land as their own, and what started as arguments soon turned into violent clashes. Men, women, and even children were caught in the bloodshed. The air was filled with cries of pain, and the once peaceful villages were now filled with hatred. Each day brought more deaths. Children and elders were not spared, as the hatred between Okpanzi and Omundin burned brighter. No one could cross paths without fighting, and the river that flowed through the border was tainted red with blood. The government heard of the cause and sent soldiers to bring peace, but the soldiers were not prepared for the wrath of the villagers. Many soldiers lost their lives in the fight, and their efforts to stop the conflict failed. It seemed like nothing could end the war between Okpanzi and Umundim. One day, a pastor from the city, Pastor Uche, heard about the unending battle. He felt led to intervene and travel to the villages, hoping that God would guide him. When he arrived, both Okpanzi and Umundim reluctantly agreed to hear him speak. As he stood at the Injinjimboda, between the two warring villages, Pastor Uche revealed a secret that no one had known. 30 years ago, he began. 30 years ago, he began. A baby girl was abandoned right here at this very border. Her mother was from Okpanzi and her father was from Umundim. They had fallen in love, but because of the conflict between your villages, they were forbidden from being together. The pastor's voice grew heavy as he continued. The father's family from Umundim forced him to stay away from the woman he loved. The mother from Okpanzi had no choice but to abandon the child. This child was picked up by a spirit from the forest and raised deep in the evil forest. She is alive today and her name is Ihefu. She has grown into a mighty warrior with supernatural powers. Both villages were silent. They listened with wide eyes as Pastor Uche revealed more. If you want peace to return, you must find Ihefu and bring her back. Only she can end this conflict and heal the wounds of your ancestors. The elders of Okpanzi and Umundim agreed to send their bravest warriors into the evil forest to bring Ihefu back. These warriors were afraid, for the evil forest was known to be filled with spirits and dangers, but they had no choice. They had to go if peace was to be restored. As they entered the forest, the air grew cold and they began to hear whispers. The voices of spirits echoed around them.
Why do you disturb our peace? Why do you disturb our peace?
Shadows moved in the trees and the warriors felt fear gripping their hearts, but they pressed on, determined to find Ihefu. After days of wandering through the dense forest, they finally saw her. Ihefu stood tall and strong, with an aura of power surrounding her. She was no ordinary woman. She was a warrior trained by spirits with eyes that seemed to see into their souls. The warriors knelt before her and pleaded, Ihefu, we have come to beg your forgiveness. Our forefathers wronged you and your parents. Please return with us to our villages and help us bring peace. For days, Ihefu said nothing. She watched them with cold eyes, and the warriors feared she would never forgive them. But after much pleading, she finally spoke. I have lived in this forest for 30 years, away from the word of men, but if my return will bring peace, I'll go. Ihefu followed the warriors back to the villages, and as she arrived at Njimjim border, both Okpanze and Omundim came to meet her. The villagers, seeing her, knew that their time of fighting was over. The pastor blessed her and the two villages reconciled, ending the bloodshed. To honor Ihefu, they renamed Njimjim border to Ihefu border, where she had been born and abandoned 30 years ago. Ihefu was reunited with her parents, and the villages lived in peace and harmony from that day forward. And so, the story of the girl raised by spirits brought lasting peace between two warring villages.